people are focused on China, you too. Is the China story as worrisome as for Apple as it has been portrayed?
Yeah, I think the bark's worse than the bite there in terms of China.
The bark is worse than the bite.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, in terms of iPhone demand, we are starting to see what I believe is stabilization to maybe even a slight uptick as we go into this next cycle for Apple. Look, 20% of iPhones upgrades over the next 12 to 18 months are coming out of China. That continues to be the fuel in the engine, but our bull thesis here is that when you look at the upgrade cycle and you look what's happening in China, in our opinion, I think the negative news is a little overdone. And I think that's the key tonight to seeing a stabilization on some sort of iPhone demand in China going into this next cycle, especially going into 5G next year.
Nilay, let me get your opinion on that. Is China the tell about Apple?
You know, China has a much more competitive smartphone market than anywhere else. It's much more price sensitive. You can get great phones in China with flagship level features for very low cost. That's where you see that Huawei dominance coming into play. And Apple doesn't quite have the lock-in base there with iMessage and other services that they do here. So I think it's a tell. I think the ASP, particularly around the iPhone XR, will be indicative. Cook said, you know, we're going to fix China. What he really meant was we're lowering prices. I think we see that mixed with the XR here. The XR is really popular everywhere. The real question for Apple in my mind is, can they convert all those iPhone owners into services customers? And can they do it without compromising the user experience of the phone and not turning it into basically a series of ads for other Apple services that you have to pay for?
What do you think they can? You asked the question. Give me your answer. Yeah.
I think it's really a hard road for them. You know, right now, if you look at the Apple ecosystem, you have an iPhone, it's great. You buy AirPods, they're great. You buy an Apple Watch, it's great. It is entirely more likely that you're going to go buy another iPhone when that upgrade cycle does come, no matter how long it is. But can they preserve that and not push you into Apple Music, not push you into Apple TV, not have basically cut-off experiences with that kind of freemium model everywhere and annoy those customers into maybe looking elsewhere?
Let me get your thought on that.
I think that's really hard. You're already seeing it a little bit. Can they manage that balance?
Yeah, Josh, let me get your thoughts on that. The ecosystem, its allure. Once you're in with respect to their devices. Does that necessarily imply, though, that you're in with respect to their services, which is certainly one of the growth engines that they're counting on?
Yeah, well, what's interesting, Tyler, there is, remember last quarter what we saw, you did see iPhone revenue under pressure. It dropped pretty hard, double digits, but you saw services still pop 16%. I think that's one question we have on the street. To your point, is what's the trajectory now as we know the iPhone franchise continues to be under pressure? What's interestingly, you have some of the most well-known and well-respected analysts in sharp disagreement, Tyler, about that trajectory. You know, Morgan Stanley's Katie Huberty has told her clients she sees services growth acceleration, in part because she's looking at the App Store. And remember, the App Store is about an estimated 30% of services revenue. She sees easier comps in China. Bernstein's Tony Sacconaghi has taken the other side of that bet. He sees 12%. He thinks his colleagues are being too aggressive. We'll see possibly who has a better read in just a few hours here.
Dan, the last word to you. I see you nodding over there a little bit.
Services is the linchpin of the valuation. I mean, in our opinion, it's $450 billion in terms of that services business, and we continue to think it's a mid to high teen grower, and that's really, in my opinion, why the stock's going to make new highs over the coming months. I think tonight's a prove-me quarter, a step in the right direction, and remember, you have 350 million iPhones that are in a window of an upgrade over the next 12 to 18 months. That's why, in our opinion, Apple is our favorite FANG name here.